This is probably going to be a long video.
So before we get this video started, I wanted to go over what gear I have. Here's the clothing. I have one pair of pants, one pair of wool socks, a pair of underwear. I am bringing a base layer shirt. This is just like a dry fit shirt. I have a zip up hoodie and a large plaid coat. My wool beanie. These are the boots I will be wearing. And then a shamag and the bandana in my back pocket. This is generally what I wear when I go on overnight trips. Next up is what's going to be in the little possibles pouch. I have my tripod, a hat, the cord to charge my phone, a battery, wallet, keys, watch, and belt. Now on top of this, I also was bringing some wet wipes for me to go to the bathroom, as well as the mason jar of food that went into the possibles pouch bag. So this is all stuff that I did not use during the challenge, but I just wanted to be up front and let you know exactly what was with me.
We're out here to do the challenge. Already have showed you everything I brought, excluding the pack that we've already opened up in the previous video, which I will link to the description box below. I just got back from the store. I will go over what I fit into my mason jar for food, and we'll go over my mentality as to how I'm going to use all of that to the best of my ability. But I wanted to go over two things that might have changed since the video that you saw when we first revealed our packs to each other. As soon as that was over, we went back to Clint's house and we practiced using the matches and stuff. And both of us tried and tried and tried, and we were successful with a few certain things, as far as like the smooth stone, like right in front of his fireplace. I found that it worked on the smooth brick on the outside of his house, but other than that, I mean, we were just blowing through matches. So, and I told him the rocks that I have where I'm going, none of them are going to be that smooth. They're all really porous. They're like this red clay kind of stuff. He said, well, you've got the emergency fire kit. And I said, yeah, I'll just plan on using that. But I think he really wants me to do a fire with match because he knows how much I hate them. So he allowed me to cut off a small square of the striker pad on the box. So that's changed. And then the second thing that has changed is the water situation. So I came out here, today is Monday. I came out here on Saturday and checked out the water. The water that was pulled up further up the creek was really nasty. Green stuff over the top. Well, I don't have a secondary container, and the mouth on that bottle that he gave me is so small, it'd be impossible to fill that up. So I told Clint this too, and he didn't care about it because he was planning on probably bringing water out with him too, unless it had rained, which it hasn't. So I have a 1 liter plastic water bottle that I will only use for refilling the metal water bottle. We've got a few things to do. This is probably going to be a long video. It's either going to be one long video or a 2-part video, but we got some things to do. The camp that I'm going to be at, I will show you real quick. This is a camp that Adam and I have stayed here before. We did a winter overnight here with our tarps and tied off to this tree right here. The only problem that I'm thinking is there's now a deadfall, what I think is a deadfall, right above the tree I was going to tie my little tarp off to. So I might move, but it's also been pretty destroyed. There's random kids that come out here to this land and cut down all kinds of trees and for some reason pile them all up. I'm going to scout around for a little bit and try to find a spot. The biggest thing that I want to get done in the next hour or so is get my find a spot for my shelter and fill up my drum liner with leaves so that I can go ahead and have all that ready. Then I can think about fire and all that fun stuff. Alright, I think I found a much better spot than where I was. It's not that much further away, honestly. But I wanted to find a small diameter tree because I only have 30 feet of yarn. I don't want to use that much of it to tie up my shelter. I'm going to be going with a plow point shelter because I don't need to use that much cordage for it, and like a ridge line like you would a lean-to or something. And it's not supposed to be that cold tonight. I'm not going to need a fire to sleep tonight. And the 3 corners of the tarp that he gave me already have bank line pieces on the grommets, so I can just carve some stakes, 1 anchor point, 3 stakes, easy peasy. So I'm going to clear this land a little bit, and I've already checked up above me. There are no deadfall limbs. Everything has leaves on it, or is losing its leaves now as we speak. And yeah, clear this up, get my kind of a footprint as to where I'm going to be laying, and then start filling up the contractor bag with leaves. I need a firm contractor bag mattress because my back and hips suck. So I pretty much have this area cleared out for now. I'll probably have to go through and trim some stuff up on the ground or whatever once I get the tarp laid out. But for the most part, this is a pretty good sized footprint. The knife that Clint gave me isn't a horrible knife. It could have been a lot worse. So I'm very thankful for this. But I also haven't used it. I don't know the actual quality of it. So I'm not going to go and start chopping down trees and stuff with it because this is my only cutting edge. So when it comes to a fire, especially here in my area, you've heard me talk about I'm not having to use an axe that much throughout the year because a lot of the trees that we have here aren't huge trees. We're not building massive shelters, and we're not using long fires all night long like you guys up north use. So a lot of the stuff that's here is already dead and on the ground, and if it's longer than an ideal piece, then we just kind of make sure that we've got a fire pit that's acquainted for long pieces that we can just let the fire itself buck up the wood. So that's a good thing. I'm not going to have to rely on a fire tonight. I'm not going to have to do any major wood processing, but I am going to have to get a couple of stakes made, and this knife's more than capable of doing it. I'm going to find a grove where there's some saplings. I want to take a green sapling. I want green because this ground is harder where I'm at than closer down to the creek. So I'm gonna have to use a baton and hit it into the ground, and I don't want those stakes to break or split because I don't want to have to use this knife more than what I need to. Right now I've got stuff to do, and like I said, this is going to be a long video. I only have myself and you, the camera, and the people out here, so just going to kind of show you everything I can that I'm doing, go over everything of my mindset as to why I would do this a certain way, and just have a lot of fun with it. So this is something that I'm really excited about. It's really fun for me, and yeah, let's go find us a sapling. So not just 3 feet from where we just were is a grove of saplings. There's no way that all these are going to make it, especially since there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are already bigger in diameter than the 3 here in the middle. So nature just has a way of handling itself, but it's not going to hurt me any to take any of these. But my better option is to take this crazy guy. So look at how it's growing. All it's going to end up doing is either breaking here because it starts going into the ground, or it's going to choke out these 2 bigger ones. So, and it's still alive. So I'm going to take this dude. This is what I'm going to take, and I'm actually going to probably take it right here at this joint because I've got multiple sections here that are straight enough for me to carve into sapling or into stakes. So what do you do when you just have a knife, no baton ready or no saw or anything? Although I could grab a baton, you can just beaver chew this, and although it might take a little while, you can go around it and just do push cuts enough and weaken it. This knife's actually doing really good. This little spot right there is kind of nice for your hand. Now that I have 3 sticks, a section I can use for a baton, we're all good. I'm just going to carve these up like you would any sticks. Take and carve some points on one end and chamfer the edges, and I hardly ever put notches in them, but I guess I could if I'm feeling like it. So we got our 3 stakes carved. I can tell it off the bat that knife has multiple hot spots. So thank goodness I'm not going to do a lot of carving and shelter building kind of stuff. I've got a tarp. So the next thing is my cordage and putting the shelter up. And I saw a couple of comments in the previous video when we opened up our packs and shared the gear or whatever about the yarn, and that, you know, it sucks and whatever, and yes, it does suck, but surprisingly the yarn that he gave me, its tensile strength when you pull on it with your 2 hands is pretty tough. The only thing I was worried about is that it frays really easy and the tree bark would rough it up. So I'm going to do a method called reverse 2-ply cordage, reverse wrap 2-ply cordage, and I'm going to take that yarn and twist it over on itself because I have 30 feet of it. I've already got pieces of bank line on the grommet, so I'm not going to need it for the tie outs, and there's really nothing else out here that I'm going to need to use that yarn for. And depending on how I feel about it, I might go ahead and wrap it over on itself again to just make it even stronger. It doubles the strength of it. So here's the yarn that he gave me for my cordage, and he said it's 30 feet, but when you pull on it, it's actually pretty strong. It's already, if you can look at it, it's already twisted on itself. So what I'm going to do is take it and double it over on itself. Basically, I'll just do this real quick and show you. Basically take your section, let's say that you wanted this much. And see, this is already twisted a certain way, so that's going to help us. But you basically twist it on itself until it kinks. Like that. And once it kinks, then you start in that section and you twist away from you. Then you grab this bottom with your finger and twist it back towards you. Away from you, twist it back towards you. Away from you, twist it back towards you. And you keep doing that. You can get pretty quick at it. Try not to look in the camera, hold on. And if you do it right, you can let go of this and it looks like rope, and it won't unravel. So I can already tell, see the thickness of this? I'm probably going to do it twice on itself to make it 4 times as thick as the normal stuff. But this will be way stronger than just the yarn by itself. Was that necessary? Absolutely not. Did I feel confident enough that I could have just doubled this over and ran it through there, through the tarp, and it'd be just fine? Absolutely. This is not as weak as what you would think it would be, especially for just a plow point. But it was a good example for me to show you in case you've never seen that before, to where you can double the strength or triple the strength or quadruple the strength, however much you want to take it, of your cordage, and have an actual piece of functioning rope that's not going to come undone, and it's a little bit more resistant. So all I did to finish it off was I just tied a knot in it to keep it from unraveling on itself. Now I'm going to get the tarp set up so I can kind of see a footprint as to how big it's going to be, and next we have to fill up our contractor bag to make our mattress, get us up off the ground, keep us from losing some heat to the ground when it gets a little bit colder tonight. Doing pretty good on time. It's only 1 o'clock. This took me right at maybe 12 minutes, 15 minutes. So the problem with cordage like yarn or any kind of natural rope or cotton twine or any of that is that it binds on itself really well. So if you tie a knot in it, the chances of you getting it out are slim to none. I spent a little bit of time making this, so I don't want to waste this by tying a knot that I can't get undone. This is where I stopped the reverse wrap 2-ply cordage process, to finish it. And I have a loop down here on the end from just where I doubled it over on itself. Originally I was planning on using this loop, but it's only one strand, and so I don't feel too confident about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to this end where I started the process, and I'm going to tie a bowline knot. And that's one that you can break down pretty easy no matter what the cordage is. You just have to fold it back down on itself and it'll open it up. So what you do is you come up your length of cordage. So here's the end. I'll come up about right here, and you put a little bite in it like that, to where you've got your running end and your tag end. You come up through the loop that you just made, go behind it, the running end, and then back into the loop, just like that. There's tons of people that have done videos on it, but it puts a knot in it like this. Now that looks like it's not going to come out, which it won't. You can pull on this as hard as you want and it won't ever slip, but it's really easy to take out. You flip it over to the back side, and this little section right here, you just open that up and pull this through, and it's not a permanent knot. It'll just open right up. You undo this and you're back to your normal cordage. So that's what I'm going to use to wrap around the tree. So the only corner on this tarp that doesn't have the bank line tie-outs is this corner, and I had to repair it a little bit. Clint had ripped it out, the grommet out, whenever he had gone and used this through a class, and he told me I could repair it. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bowline knot that we just made, and I want to tie it to where I can get in and out of it, but I don't want it so high that it's not going to help trap any heat or anything. It's not supposed to get that cold, but I normally do it a little bit above waist height or whatever. So probably a little bit above this knot. And what I'll do is I'll take the bowline, thread the cordage through it, and then pull it taut on itself. And I'm being gentle with this. So now it's bound on itself. It's not going anywhere. Then what I'll do is I'll take this cordage and thread it through this loop, or through this grommet like this. So now the tarp is on here. And an easy way, if you want it up off the tree a little bit to give you some space, or if you want it right up onto the tree, an easy way to tie with one strand of cordage for a plow point shelter is pull this over on itself, figure out where you want it, and then put a bite in it like that. Then you can pull this out a little bit and put another bite in it just to secure it. And that's not going to slip, that's not going anywhere. And when you pull your stakes out, it'll tighten your tarp up. And you can come in and adjust this once you get your stakes pulled up. You can always leave a little bit of room here so that I can come and adjust it to pull it even tighter. But this way, there's no knots in this rope. I can pull here, I can pull this end, and we're good to go.
Six and a half hours later.
So here's my footprint. Man, this ground is so hard right now that it's really giving me a problem. I've already broken a stake and had to make another one. So, but this is the footprint that I'm gonna have. Like I said, it's not the biggest, but it's a lot easier. You don't have to put up a ridge line, and it'll work for me tonight for sure. So I'll sleep in here. Actually have a nice little breeze coming through here. I've got plenty of clothing for warmth. I think what I'll do, just to reinforce some of these stakes, is I'll get some of these rocks from over here by the creek and just put them either leaning on the stakes or put them in front of the stakes so that I don't have any of them pulling out, but man, this ground is just hard. I normally carry those heavy duty steel stakes when I come out here to go hammock camping because I know how hard it is. You're just gonna hit rock. But got this going now. It's gonna flop around and stuff. I may try to put something here in the center, maybe to tie off to a tree over there, but I'm happy with it. It'll work. That's what you don't want to put in your debris bag. Joking aside, you can see it's taken me from where the camera was set up, that large oak tree, to here and the outskirts, just to get about this much of insulation. I just laid on it to kind of flatten it out to start getting it shaped up the way I want it. Got to keep putting more in there. The main thing is that I've got enough insulation from my head to my hips, because that's where you're going to lose most of your body weight. This is what we're looking at. That's one of the trees that the kids cut down. It sucks, but at least I can use the leaves and stuff that are around it. But yeah, just got to keep on keeping on. So really the only thing left to do now is just to try it out. Like I said, I've already been laying on this a couple of times. My head's gonna go down here, and then my hips will go down towards the end that it is tied off at. I used some more of the yarn and just tied it in like a shoestring bow tie so I can undo it. Just get this as full as what you want. It's now 2:18, and I think I got started on this maybe 45 minutes ago. So I know down here it's already compact because I was packing it as I went. First you got to get all the air out. You'll see how much air is actually in it, and then you'll actually have your compressed material. So just a little bit of time extra that I put into this towards where my hips are, it's already a lot better. I can feel it. It's just a matter of trying it out. Man, that's not bad at all. I'm happy with the thickness. It's about as thick as my sleeping pad that I use, and it's well past my hips, and I've got enough up here on my head. So I made it to where it was a little bit stiffer up here to give me more support on my shoulders and my neck. But yeah, man, it's great. This will do just fine. I guess the only thing I'm worried about is just getting hot, because this is going to be a pretty tight squeeze in that little plow point with that reflective side. All right, let's go look at where I was. I'll get up off this mattress. Man, this would be the perfect night to sleep in a hammock with no tarp. All the leaves falling. So this is what I come up with. I've already laid on the debris mattress, and it works great. It's fine. It's nice and comfy, right what I wanted. I've got this angled in a way that my head will barely be underneath the tarp, which is fine. It's not supposed to rain tonight, but that'll just keep any kind of leaves or any stuff that might fall on my face when I'm asleep, freak me out, you know. That'll keep that from happening. And that way I'm getting the most airflow. If it was colder, you would definitely want to be further up in there. I could probably put a little debris ball here in the center to pull this up, but with the luck that I've had with the stakes and them not being going in the ground as well as what I wanted them to, and then also me having yarn as my cordage, I don't think it would hold up that well cranking it down and pulling this up like you would a normal tarp. So this is more than enough. I'll be just fine. Where the camera is right now is where I think I might have a small fire, a cooking fire. That's the last thing I have to do is prep this ground, get all the debris out of the way, use somewhat of a digging stick. I found a good one over there that I can use to dig down into the ground a little bit. I could probably take some of the rocks that are around here, line the outside, make it real nice if I wanted to, and that'll give me something to watch too as I'm sitting here. So that's really all I have left to do, besides go over what I brought for my food, and I want to do that before it gets dark also. So I just finished getting the debris mattress in the contractor bag the way I wanted. I just kind of wanted to go over a few little tips and tricks in case you ever decide to do this for yourself. Whenever you're gathering the leaves, the easiest thing that I noticed is get into an area that it's not really thick with trees, with overhead trees. Like this area right here, it's kind of like a little meadow almost with grass and stuff growing in it. And the leaves were a lot easier to pick up because there wasn't as many broken branches and twigs and stuff in it. And that's something you want to avoid when you're filling it up, because that's going to poke holes in it, and it would be a shame if you spent all this time making it and you ripped it and all this stuff fell out, you know, the side during the night. Like I already showed you at the beginning of the video, I did bring this little possibles bag just to put the camera equipment. Literally I have battery, cable, wallet, keys. Haven't used those at all. This is a trash bag for me to put my trash in on my way out, or me to pick any trash up that I see on the way out. And then my wipes for me to use the bathroom. Glad I brought those. I've already used them. So inside this I've got my mason jar food. So what I did was I immediately thought I don't have a secondary container with the bottle that Clint gave me to cook any kind of meals and stuff in. So I thought I can pour warm water, hot water from the bottle into this and use this as a secondary container. So when I do that, I can put my food in this Ziploc bag, and Clint can just get over it. He didn't say any kind of rules about the mason jar. So right off the top of it, I have a thing of maple and brown sugar oatmeal for in the morning. I have 2 things of coffee. I will leave a little bit of this stuff in here after breakfast in the morning, and then pour this in here to give me some flavor sweetener for my coffee. So I thought that was pretty ingenious. I have a almond butter, a Quest protein bar, a packet of Spam, and then for dinner, and I'm thinking I could just pour it in this too, I have Steakhouse broccoli cheddar soup, potato soup. So that's everything in the mason jar. It all fit in there. So now I'm going to transition and put all this into here. Work smarter, not harder, and we're all good. It fit in the mason jar. I stayed within the rules. How you like that, Clint? So I took a little break from filming to let my phone charge a little bit. It's kind of the downside of doing long trips and stuff, is your cell phone battery gets weaker as the longer you have it, and so filming really uses up the battery, but I got a good charge on it now. What I want to do next is prep this area right here for a small cooking fire area, just something that I can sit and watch tonight, because it gets dark. It's 3:20, it gets dark around 5:20, 5:30. So I've been doing a little bit of prep. Went down to the creek and got a little handful of cottonwood inner bark, and I got some bark off this dead juniper behind me. Been making a little few feather sticks, and I've gathered some twigs. So my goal is to use one match and get the fire going. I want to do that. So especially with me having that little small piece of striker pad now from the box, I should have no problem with it. It's just getting it prepped and getting it ready, so you do it once and you do it right the first time. But I need to clear all this stuff out, clear all this around, so that there's no chance that this fire spreads or an ember lands somewhere and I'll probably end up getting some of those rocks from the fire pit Adam and I made and move them over here. So this will do just fine. I'm not going to have that big of a fire. I won't worry about it getting too big and jumping over here. It's going to be something small, something for me to do as the night gets darker, and something for me to cook on. So found this really nice piece of bark. That'll be a good base layer. I think it's oak, so, or it's a slab of oak or something, but it's definitely harder wood. So now I just need to get this stuff prepped and ready. So we got all of our stuff prepped and ready. This way we can go ahead and get a good bed of coals before it gets dark. So here is a little bit of cottonwood bark that I got, and here is a little bit of the cedar or juniper, and it should be more than enough with a match, because I've got a lot of cedar twigs that'll just go up like gasoline. So let's give it a shot. Hoping to do this with one match. But with my luck, I don't know. So here's the matches and that little strike pad. There's been a little gust of wind coming through here. See if we can wait. Actually had a piece of my yarn break off too. So anything will help, right? Get all this prepped and ready so I don't have to move it that much. Alright, here we go, match. This striker pad back in here, keep it dry. Just back in my kit. Our fire's going pretty good now. We got some good coals, and honestly I'm just not hungry. It's still pretty warm, pretty hot. I haven't been sitting down here much just because it's so warm still. The fire is really pretty hot, but I wanted to at least get it going in case I wanted it later. It's supposed to get down, you know, like I said, in the 50s shortly after the sun goes down, which is probably about an hour now. But I wanted to show you real quick a little eating utensil that I carved in case I do get hungry. And like I said, my plan is to use either the water bottle Clint gave me in my kit and pouring it into the bag for the soup, or if I don't feel good about that because of the plastic or whatever, I can pour it into the mason jar, at least a little bit, and just make a little bit of something to eat and then wash it out. So here's a close-up of the knife Clint gave me to use for this challenge. It says Maxim Japan, Maxim Steel Special 420. It's given me some pretty bad hot spots, but it is what it is. The edge is still holding up pretty well, but it's kind of weird. Look at where the tang goes. So it's like a full tang, but the handle's kind of weird. And then this is a little utensil that I carved, a little spoon or something to scoop stuff up with. So all I did was take this edge of this knife, my thumb, and just keep scooping it out. So I'm gonna work on that some more. Like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna make that soup or not. It's just so hot. We'll see. I'd hate to boil up the only water that I have with me and make it all hot and not be able to drink it later if I'm wanting something to drink. Oh dear, I just spooked. It's pretty cool. I just stood up and spooked it. She just keeps coming closer. Got a little baby behind her too. See her looking at you right there? So I think the biggest thing to take away from a challenge like this is just how much comfort we take in what we bring with us, and just how much easier it makes camping in the woods, where it's almost like you're just going out to a different place to be entertained, or at least for me it feels that way sometimes. I don't ever bring all kinds of stuff like electronics or whatever, music and any of that stuff, but it is to the point that, like, I got a really nice hammock. I can bring these really nice meals to cook on fancy stoves, and you know, all these containers and big backpacks that can carry all of it really well. And that's fine. Like, you get to the point where it almost feels like you've worked up to that, or you've earned that, especially the money that you've put into it and that you've invested into it. But it also kind of takes away the primal feeling of it, like what this is. This is a very you know, stripped down version of what I would normally do, but it's not impossible. It's not anything to where I'm afraid I'm not gonna make it, or I'm, you know, it's just a mentality thing. And I think a lot of situations or whatever that you could find yourself in, having that mentality of, I've been here before, I know what to do, I have the skills, that's the first step in getting yourself out of something like a sticky situation, if you ever find yourself in that. But for the most part, this kind of stuff is just something we choose to do, and it's a lot of fun. And this is definitely something I think you and whoever else is watching should try, because it's a lot of fun. It kind of brings you back down to earth. It brings you out of your comfort zone enough to where it's a challenge, and it's a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens later tonight. I'm probably just going to be doing a bunch of this, sitting around enjoying it. I've just showed you a few deer. They're still down in this little, next to this creek down here, and I can hear them snorting and wheezing and stuff. So we'll see what happens. I'm probably not going to make that soup. I just don't feel like fooling with it. I will make the oatmeal in the morning. I'm planning on getting up early enough to get the fire going back again, enjoy the before the sun comes up, enjoy the crispness of the morning, and get some hot food in me. So I'll be leaving early in the morning. Wife's picking me up, I think, around 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, before she heads to work and before I got to get started with stuff too. So anything else happens, I'll let you know before I get to bed. So it's getting dark, starting to wind down. Got my little zip up hoodie on. Got the fire going. Sitting here relaxing. I've seen a lot of deer today. Well, a lot, 3, but 3 within an hour and a half, so that's pretty cool. But looking forward to getting some good sleep here in a couple hours and just enjoying this fire. Well, good morning. Well, I apologize about the dogs barking in the background. There is a house that's not too far away from this core land that their dogs run around in the morning and chase deer and stuff. So, speaking of deer, you notice a big difference between my camp setup yesterday and then this morning? Yeah, so interesting story. I showed you the videos of the deer that I saw. I saw a total of 3 yesterday before I went to sleep, right around dusk, even before dusk in the afternoon. You saw those videos. So I've been coming out here now for the last year and a half or so. I've seen deer activity in the area. I've seen rubs, scrapes, droppings, you name it, but I've never actually seen deer here. In this area. I've seen them on the biking trail, but other than that, I haven't seen deer in this area. Long story short, I finally hunker down, probably 10 o'clock or so, 10:30, and I'm on the debris mattress and get comfortable, fall asleep, wake up 12 something, and roll back over, readjust, fall back asleep. 2 o'clock in the morning, the bejesus is scared out of me. And I wish I was making this up because it would make for a really tall tale, really funny tall tale, but it's the God's honest truth. I had a deer, which I'm guessing was a pretty good size, probably one of the ones that I saw, come barreling through camp and rip up this tie out and almost the other one as it came through. Yeah, it scared the crap out of me. He came through this way, through these 2 trees, and when he came through, she took this stake out. I basically just propped the stick up in the ground, back in the hole, and then put the rock over on top of it. But thank goodness for Clint giving me that emergency fire kit, because I had already checked that out and unrolled it. Well, I saved the Gorilla Tape that he wrapped it all up in, and I used that to patch the hole up, put the grommet back somewhat in spot and patch the hole up, and while I was at it, I just went ahead and did it to all of them. So long story short, after that happened, I couldn't get comfortable on that mattress again. So at first I had it set up next to the fire, and the wind never shifted, so the smoke was just constantly blowing in my face. So I moved it over there and kind of dozed and cat napped from then until 5:15,
and then that's when I made the oatmeal and coffee and all that. But crazy, never had that happen before. Never had a deer come blazing through camp like that, and then having to do a 2 a.m. repair on a grommet using the light on my phone. So pretty tired, but it was a lot of fun. This was a whole lot of fun. Yeah, had a really good time, really enjoyed it. Was a challenge for sure, just because it was out of the ordinary. It wasn't anything where I felt where I needed to go home or whatever, but it was definitely a challenge. Just kind of looking at what you have and using all of it to the fullest potential, like the duct tape and the grommet. Still waiting, checking on the fire. I've done 3 trips down to the creek, filled up the mason jar and the big water bottle, and I've dumped it on there. Looks like it's just about out now. I've got to tear all this down, dump the debris mattress. I think I'm just going to stuff everything in that garbage bag instead of trying to make it fit back into the hipster knapsack that Clint gave me. And then I got to get out of here. It is 7:06, and my wife's supposed to be picking me up a little before 8. All right, before I wrap stuff up, I wanted to go over super quick the items that Clint gave me, how I felt about them, how they performed, and what I was most disappointed in. So number one, I was most disappointed in the debris mattress, not because it didn't work. I never got cold. It was plenty firm enough, but anyone who says you can throw one contractor bag in your kit and use it as a debris mattress hasn't done it before. I've tried this before, but actually staying a whole night and trying to make it work and trying to actually sleep on it, having 2 would have been so much better. Having one for my lower half and my upper half, and kind of like overlapping them or something, because yeah, my hips sink into the ground or whatever. So that was what I was most disappointed in. Even then, it was still better than freezing to death, so I can't complain too much. The knife edge is still good. It never rolled, so I was really impressed with that. It's still able to cut yarn, rope, whatever. Obviously the handle is not my favorite, gave me hot spots, but hey, it was a good cutting tool, so thank you for that, Clint. Matches would have been way worse, probably would have been what I was most disappointed in, but he gave me that striker pad, so I was able to get it first try like you saw, kept the fire going all night. The emergency tarp would have been fine if the deer wouldn't have ripped the grommet out. So trying to think what else. Knapsack, hipster bag, no thank you. When I carried it in with my water bottle full, yeah, it was really uncomfortable. But again, it's better than carrying it in a sheet or something, you know, like at least it had straps on it. Water bottle was actually, I didn't have to tap into my reserve water until this morning to make breakfast. So it lasted me all day yesterday. I didn't realize how much water that was. Just a small spout, you know, made it hard to cook in, but I just used my mason jar. So other than that, it was awesome. So just wanted to let you guys know how I felt about the items I was given. I had a blast. Thank you everybody for watching. Clint and I have a couple more challenge videos like this in the works, kind of collab stuff where we're going to be kind of doing the same thing with just different ideas. We're trying to think of other stuff to do, so it'll be a lot of fun. Thank y'all for watching. Remember, get outside and enjoy the woods.